Are you ready? Stand by.
Welcome to the 3 Gun Show. I'm your host, Dave Hartman. This is episode 209, where I interview the Director of Sales and Marketing at IWI, Jeremy Gresham. We talk about the Red October Kalashnikov Championship and trying to figure out USPSA's hit factor scoring.
This podcast is brought to you by Breda USA, Italian shotguns that are the best in the world. And this is a shotgun tech tip from Team Breda.
Hey, this is Dave Hartman from the 3 Gun Show with Sean Burrows from Team Breda, and Sean has a tech tip for us today. Sean, what do you got?
Today I want to tell you about cleaning the bore of your shotgun. These are smooth bore guns, and unlike the other cartridges we discharge in 3-gun, shotgun shells are plastic, and what we want to do is make sure melted plastic comes out. So go get a 12-gauge size steel brush, put it on your cleaning tube, and then put it on a drill. Put some cleaning solution in here and actually use your drill to get it out. It won't hurt your barrel, and obviously there's no rifling to mess up, and it'll keep your gun clean and keep your patterns nice and patterny.
All right, there's your tech tip from Sean Burrows from Team Breda.
Check out Breda's B12i 3-gun ready inertia-driven shotgun at BredaUSA.com. That's BREDA.
This podcast is brought to you by LAG Tactical. I've been using LAG gear for 3 years now, and I just got an upgrade into their new for 2018 MCS mag pouches. MCS stands for Modular Carry System and is a two-piece design that fits most double-stack 9 and 40 mags and most AR mags. That means I can loan gear to someone in need on the range, even if we're shooting different guns. I've been using these pouches for many matches now, and they've been great. I like that you can choose the retention based on what is required by the stage, Speed Demon or locked in tight. I've been shooting the low-cut Supernova holster as well, and it has been a dream. They make it in a mid and high cut too if you're into that, but I'm digging the low cut, super fast draws, and plenty of retention when you need it. Check them out, lagtactical.com, and use code 3GS in all caps to save yourself 10% when placing an order. Thank you for joining me here on the 3 Gun Show, the world's largest 3-gun podcast. If you're new to the show, this is a weekly podcast where we talk about all things practical shooting and focus on what it takes to improve you as a 3-gunner and a competitive shooter. I want to give a big shout out to the people that make it possible for me to bring this show to you week after week. Vortex Optics, IWI, LAG Tactical, Breda USA, and Armalite. Also, a huge thank you to the Patreon supporters of the 3 Gun Show. These individuals and companies are the backbone of the show and keep things running around here. If you work for or with a company that wants to reach the largest audience of 3-gunners, I'm booking our 2019 calendar right now, which includes video, podcasts, social media, etc. But I only have a couple spots left, so get on it right away. Email me, dave@3gunshow.com, and we'll see if we're a good fit together. We're about to cross 800,000 downloads on the podcast as we continue to grow month over month, which is kind of cool to see that there's still growth in the shooting sports after all these years. In other news, I was recently interviewed by 2 podcasts, so if you want to know more about me personally and the journey that brought me here, check out Made Us, a new podcast by former 3 Gun Show guest Zach Weaver, and the Vortex Nation podcast, obviously by Vortex Optics, and that podcast is co-hosted by former guests Jimmy Hamilton and Ruben Alexson, plus Mark Boardman, who you haven't heard here on the 3 Gun Show yet, but we should probably fix that at some point. Anyway, it feels weird to talk about myself on a podcast, as I'm usually the one asking the questions and making the jokes. But this was a fun change of pace, and both podcasts are different, so check them both out. I'll link to each of them in the show notes at 3gunshow.com/episode 209. And thanks to all those fellows for having me on their podcast. It was a really good time. Now on to the show. Jeremy Gresham is back on the podcast, and this time we get to do a deep dive on where he came from, what he thinks of 3-gun from an industry executive position, and things that we can do to improve the shooting sports. Jeremy's the director of sales and marketing for IWI US, which has brought you products like the Galil and Tavor rifles and the Jericho pistol. Pretty cool partnership coming up here with IWI that we talk about in the podcast. We're going to shoot Red October, and it's going to be a good time. And we recorded this podcast after hours at TriggerCon 2018, which was a really fun industry consumer show in Bellevue, Washington. I got to go there with the folks at Vortex Optics, and I really enjoyed it. If you're in the Northwest, put TriggerCon on your 2019 calendar. Tons of fun. So since we recorded this podcast, IWI has stepped up as the title sponsor of this year's Generation 3 Gun Championship. This is a pretty cool development because I love Gen 3 myself, and Jeremy sees the importance of supporting youth in the shooting sports. So he's stepping up behind Gen 3, which is really cool. Because this was last minute, Jeremy got a couple sponsor slots for Generation 3 Gun, and he asked if I knew anyone that would need them. So we actually did an impromptu giveaway to the 3 Gun Show patrons. And there's two awesome people, Travis and Corinne, that are going to be going on behalf of IWI and the 3 Gun Show to Generation 3 Gun, which is really cool. So that's another one of those little member perks for 3 Gun Show patrons that's not listed, but those happen every now and then. So if you're going to Gen 3 yourself, tell Jeremy thanks when you see him for sponsoring the match, and let him know you heard him on the 3 Gun Show. Now, enjoy this wide-ranging industry conversation with Jeremy Gresham.
Jeremy, welcome back to the 3 Gun Show.
Ah, buddy, what's up, Dave? Thanks for having me.
Man, I'm glad to have you here. So this is a long time coming for listeners of the 3 Gun Show, faithful listeners, people that have been listening for a long time. They're going to remember Jeremy was on the 3 Gun Show several times right around the time of the 2016 Hurricane Nationals at 3 Gun Nation.
I'm sure those same listeners are like, I'm turning this up now because he has no filter.
You kept it pretty good there. You were very, very calm, but the people that, maybe they're in the 3 Gun Talk forums or 3 Gun discussion and everything else group or whatever the heck it's called, they're going to tune into this. They're going to be excited.
Sometimes I like to poke the bear on those.
You do.
Yeah. I just say the stuff that everybody's thinking. I don't have sponsors to worry about, so.
That's true. And that's one thing that you're really good at, is saying a lot of things that other people are thinking.
I try.
What's your most recent thing that you've been playing with?
As far as like poking the bear?
Poking the bear.
USPSA.
Yep. And why is that?
Josh Froelich.
Why?
Because I just don't think you can't glorify a man for winning something after you told him he can't be on the team in which he just raped everybody. I got all the respect for Josh. I talk to Josh a lot, or as much as I can. When I see him at shows, I always make an effort to shake his hand. If I see him at a match, I like watching it. I really like watching his footwork, man. Mm-hmm. It's almost like a boxer. You know, his mixed martial arts background comes into play really well there.
For sure.
But, when it comes to this, you can't say, no, you're not allowed to be a part of the U.S. team, and then he goes over there and wrecks life.
Yeah.
And then you put him on the cover of a magazine to glorify somebody that you didn't even allow on your team. Hey, kudos, right? I think it's great press for Josh. He's a great human being and he deserves all of that. But that still opens the door for Jeremy to talk to USPSA.
Yeah.
And I shot a couple USPSA matches, and if you ever get a chance to talk to Lan at Dissident, it's a good laugh because I had him dying on the phone because I was going full on. I've yet to tell that story to Shane Cooley. He's called me a couple times hey, dude, I need to hear this because I've heard it's epic. We can't talk about that on the air because let's put it this way. I'm not a big, I don't shoot a lot of matches.
Uh-huh.
I send a lot of emails. A lot of people, a lot of people send a lot of bullets down range. I send a lot of emails. If you see me at matches, I'm sending emails as well.
You're what they call a rainmaker.
Yeah, I'm trying to make money for people.
Yeah.
So when I shot this USPSA match, it was a piece.
This is a club match, Pennsylvania. Is that right?
It was Delaware.
Delaware, okay.
I went with my buddy Rick Torres, and the one of the shooters that we were there with, I said, nobody was stepping up to be an RO, right? It's a club match, and Rick was about to get ready to go, so I was like, I was like, I don't know how to run the tablet thing. I ain't figured that whole Alpha Bravo. I ain't figured that out yet. But I can sit there and say beep. So
Well, the timer does it for you. You don't even need to say
exactly, right? I just say, so I know the general range commands that in which I've heard, right?
Yeah.
So
thousands of times.
yeah, so I tell her to go ahead and load, make ready. She does that. And I said, are you ready? Yeah. Stand by, mash button. She does her little thing. She turns and looks at me and goes, you didn't acknowledge that I'm ready. And I kind of looked at her like, come again.
That's not in the USPSA rulebook,
well,
actually.
I don't know if it is or not, but
I'm telling you for a fact it's not.
well, she was like, the RO is supposed to acknowledge. I'm like, so I'm supposed to ask you if you're ready. You acknowledge that you say yes, and I'm supposed to say what? She goes, you're supposed to say shooter has acknowledged. I'm like, I'm not doing that.
No.
Try again.
By the way, that's not it, right? I don't know where this shooter has indicated ready bullshit came from. I think that might be like a Steel Challenge thing from the past, but it's not like that anymore. The range commands are make ready. Are you ready? Stand by. There's the beep. It finished, unload, show clear.
Yeah. So we go through that, and then like stage or two later, same shooter. But in this stage is a stage that you shoot, and then you walk forward, and then there's another stage, but it's the classifier, right?
Oh, yeah, okay. I've seen those.
I don't know what classifier it was. It's really irrelevant. But so you shoot your one course of fire first. When I shot it, Rick ran me.
Uh-huh.
Shot it. I unloaded, show clear. Walked forward. Load and make ready. Got ready to go. Rick's getting his stuff together. And she shoots the first stage. And I said, go ahead and unload and show clear. And she goes, couldn't I just holster it? And we walked forward. And I'm like, how about you just unload and show clear? And she kept looking at me. And I'm like, look, I don't know the stupid RO rules for USPSA. I don't really care. But at the end of the day, the RO has control and command of the range, correct?
Right.
And she goes, yeah. I'm like, who's the RO? And she goes, you are. I'm like, then unload and show clear. And
Did she?
she just, yeah, oh yeah. And then like, yeah, then we had some guys that like, this one guy had not shot a double all day. And I'm
A double?
scoring. Yeah, like a same hole.
Oh,
type
yeah,
thing.
yeah, I gotcha. Oh, yeah, the classic.
And I'm scoring his target, and not. So you're telling me that you're calling it a double as you're falling on 1 foot, one-handed, and you're shooting a 45, and you put two in the same hole at 15 yards. You ain't shot a double at 2 feet all day, but you shot that one. Okay. So I'm like, I don't really know this game. Y'all can have your deal. So I asked the Nazi crony that was being all RO commandy. I'm like, what do you call it? And she goes, I call it a double. I'm like, whatever.
Are you kidding?
I mean, whatever, dude. I'm just there to have fun shooting PCC. I was really working the bugs out of that PCC. I enjoyed it, though.
That's probably why they didn't like you right off, is because you're shooting PCC.
Well,
USPSA, for some reason, they introduced PCC as like a provisional division, and then all the members do their damnedest to piss off PCC shooters so they don't actually come back and shoot anymore.
Well, I can tell you this. I shoot these USPSA matches, whether it's pistol or rifle, when I get a chance. One, I'm horrible with a pistol, so I use them as, just pistol work. And I'm not looking for like 2 alpha, 2 bravo. I'm looking for 2 on the paper and roll.
Right.
So I didn't even.
Because you use it like for 3-gun training.
Yeah, I'm using it for what I actually enjoy doing, and like I enjoy the people, so I enjoy shooting it. Like,
Yeah.
I don't enjoy you all, so I just don't. I just want to do my job, get out of here.
You don't lead with that, do you?
I mean, I think the nonverbals say it for themselves. Yeah, so it's like, I go out there, I do my job, I do what I need to do. And I tell you what, like, I called Greg Jordan middle of my first USPSA match I've ever shot in my life. I'm like, hey, buddy, what's this hit factor thing? He's like, what are you talking about, dude? I'm like, I thought I was crushing people because of the times. And then all of a sudden I start looking at hit factor. And I'm like, what is this hit factor? He's like, yeah, dude, they've got like a scoring matrix, and then there's this whole power factor and limited.
Yeah.
I was like, I eventually just picked the phone and called Shane, and I'm like, yo, dude, I need like 10 minutes. I need to understand all this, because like where I'm playing and what world I'm playing in. Whether it was the, 3-gun, 2-gun, you put 2 on paper and roll. Hit piece steel, ding, go.
Yep.
No. I have a respect for the guys who do that.
Yeah. So that sounds exactly like my first USPSA match, and it was the same thing. It's like, dude, I cut that stage like in half. I burned it down, and then they're like, Charlie Delta, 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 and I'm like, what are you guys doing? Well, we're scoring. I'm like, what do you mean scoring? I got 2 on the paper, and they're like, you shoot 3-gun, don't you?
Yeah. So then I shot a steel challenge match. I really like that. No reset. You just hit steel and move.
Yeah.
I
nice
really
and fast.
I dig that. I had a good time with that. I shot that with Paul Parrott for the first time out there at TPC.
Uh-huh. Oh, yeah.
They have a Tuesday night, I think it is.
Tuesday night steel.
And my previous employer, Paul Parrott, who's now the owner of Voodoo Gunworks out in St. George.
Oh, okay.
Was like, hey, dude, come out and shoot this match. I was already out there. We were doing some planning for next year. And I was like, I don't have a gun. And he handed me like this tricked out Infinity. And I was like, all right, I got this in. And a bunch of mags. And we showed up. And I was like, this is great. No reset, no nothing. I just hit the steel and roll. And he's like, man, we got to get you out shooting more. I'm like, yeah, the problem is when I take time off from selling, it impacts our sales. Thus, y'all yell at me. So I just stay selling. It's easier.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point, right? And that's one thing that I've talked about on the show a little bit. And everyone has to deal with his opportunity cost, right? So this would be a good transition. We kind of got off track there on right outside the gates, but let's bring it back a little bit. When we talk about opportunity costs, like what do you do during the day? What's like your daily life? What do you do off the range?
So currently, I am the director of sales and marketing for IWI US.
Mm-hmm.
We import rifles from Israel Weapon Industries. We're owned by the SK Group, who owns Meprolite, Camaro, Shipyard Company, and some other stuff. Fairly large, but mainly IWI, Israel being the largest entity within that. But I'm in charge of the sales and marketing for the U.S. side of it, which is only a couple years old. It came to the country, came to the U.S., started producing or importing and producing rifles 2013-ish, late 2012, early 2013.
Is that when like the Tavor hit the market?
Yeah, so the original SAR,
right.
So Tavor, but it was a SAR. We're famous for the bullpup.
What does SAR stand for?
I have no idea. Squad automatic rifle.
That's what I was thinking too, but
that's,
I wouldn't think it'd be a squad. Singular automatic rifle.
I don't know.
Whatever.
But yeah, so the Israelis wanted something. They wanted something more compact, and they got it with the original SAR. I'll take some pictures next time I go to Israel. When you see the concept, it's like it looks like something out of Halo.
Oh, really?
Like, no joke. I'm like, wow, y'all got that out of that. Okay, I don't know who had the brainchild behind that one, but okay, that's cool. But yeah, so we're a fairly young company, but nobody competes with us really for the most part, other than Steyr. Some Keltex, but at the end of the day, we own that bullpup.
There's like
market.
FN used to make a bullpup, right?
Yeah, they still do. The FS2000, the PS90. At the end of the day, we still crush just about every bullpup out there. And then we have the Galil.
Which I've shot a little bit.
Yeah, man. It's our AK variant, like-ish. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah, we will.
We've got the Jericho pistols, which we've been building the pistol for years for Magnum Research, the Baby Eagle.
Right.
So a lot of people have like Magnum Research pistols, but it says made by Israel Weapons Industry in Israel. A couple years ago, that contract or whatever relationship fizzled out, and we brought in the Jericho.
Okay.
We built a 945. We do sometimes
What's a 945?
We do 9 and 45.
Oh, 9 and 45. Okay.
Yeah, and then sometimes we do.
Sorry, I thought you were naming another model.
No, but what is interesting, I just found out that we did a run. Israel ran 41 Action Express out of a Jericho. Yeah, I had a guy call me. I don't know how he got my number, but that's for a different conversation. I don't know how he got my number, but he called me, and there's like a group that own. There's like 7,000 people in the United States that have these 41 Action Express, and they just want me to bring in the brass so they can load it.
Yeah. Makes sense.
So I got the guys over to Israel trying to figure that one out. if we can help make some money, why not?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that and what else we built? Uzi, right?
Yeah.
Everybody knows the Uzi.
I didn't know that Uzi was still a thing, though.
Yeah,
I haven't listened to enough gangster rap recently.
Yeah, we have the micro Uzi that we still bring into the country.
Okay.
It's got a little SB tactical brace on it.
Oh, cool.
It's pretty cool. When we go to shows, it's like the number one thing people want to see.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, well, when we were at NRA,
Yeah.
people were crowding around that. I'm
They're all about
it. Come on, dude, there's a 308 AK right here.
Yeah. And then what else we got? This year we brought out the Tavor 7, the 308 bullpup. And we also brought out a bullpup TS12 12 gauge.
Yeah.
That everybody's kind of like googly-eyed about. I've shot them both. I've been actually beating up both of them pretty good to make sure we're good to go. And then we have our belt feds, the Negev 7 and Negev 5, 5.56 or 308.
Are those civilian models?
No, they're not civilian, but
Maybe on the horizon?
no, I don't think so, man. Actually, what I'm working on is updating the Negev to a more modern rifle and getting it built in the United States so I can get in some contracts here in the United States, whether it's with some LE agencies or small units or whatever else I can do.
So what's the Negev?
It's a belt-fed machine gun.
Okay.
It's named after the Negev Desert. So all of our weapon systems are named after some type of either tribe, culture, historical monument in Israel. Mount Tabor.
Oh.
The Galil. I think I can't pronounce it, but yeah, you can Google it. And then the Negev Desert. Everybody's asked us about our Masada pistol that'll be out in 2019. But
I've seen that in like a bunch of the gun mags and stuff.
Yeah,
it's always something you can't get, and that makes you want it more, right?
Yeah. So everything we have is named after something.
Interesting.
And at Israel's the size of New Jersey, right? With a metric ton of people inside of it, and everybody around them wants to kill them.
Right.
So these dudes are always fighting. They're very prideful in their country, as they should be, as we should be as well. I mean, everybody serves in Israel, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
I was there during the we're getting sidetracked again, but I think it's important to note that I was there during the Holocaust remembrance time.
And it was a significant anniversary too, right?
Yeah, so every year I'm in the middle of presenting a multi-tens of million dollars of sales plan and marketing plans and things of that nature. Just growth plans. Talk about where we're going.
75 years.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
But a lady walks in and says the sirens are going to go off, and I'm like, what's that mean? Like, is there like incoming?
Yeah,
rockets?
you're thinking like, oh shit.
Like, what's going on? Like, is Iron Dome about to go off? Like, they did. Like, Iron Dome's cool. We'll talk about that in a minute. But no, it's that country comes to a complete standstill for 3 minutes as a siren goes off as a remembrance to all of the Holocaust victims.
Okay.
So you can find videos online where you're driving down the road.
You had some pictures of this on your Facebook or Instagram
Yeah,
or
people
something,
come
right?
to, like, I mean, I'm looking at
Like
the
they
major
get out of their
highway.
cars.
Oh, yeah, it comes to a screeching halt.
Yeah.
And you wait for 3 minutes. It's really impressive, man. I wish we could remember, as our country can remember some of the things that our countrymen and women have done for us in that way, rather than like Memorial Day or Veterans Day where it's just a big party
and
a shopping spree.
And get drunk.
Yeah.
Well, you remember, I've never experienced that. Obviously never been to Israel, so I've never experienced that. But the closest thing I can align it to, like in an American experience, would be after 9/11 happened.
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't all stop in our cars on the highway, but like everything effing stopped.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
The planes didn't fly.
And it's really anything significant. After we had the Boston Marathon bombings, we had a silent minute for that.
Sure.
But these guys have been doing it for years, right? Every year, same thing.
Well, and I like that in concept because it's that whole never forget, right? Never forgive, never forget.
Yep.
Where this is our culture. This is where we came from as a people.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think it solidifies it in young people's minds who did not live through it, right? Because if you forget it, you're going to repeat it, right?
I look at Israel like Texas. You can't go anywhere in Texas without seeing a Texas flag. They love their state.
Yep. Flies higher than the U.S. flag.
Yep, a lot of times, right?
Mhm.
Anywhere in Israel, everybody served. From 8,
Right,
you have to
right.
serve 2 years. So they have a sense of pride for their country. They may not like the political power, but they love their country.
Right.
And
I think in the U.S. people
often forget that.
mistake their country for their political power.
Exactly. So it's interesting. Shout out to Mo Shaw. His daughter's over there in the IDF right now.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe next time I go over there, we have such good relationships with the Israeli military in the IDF. So maybe I can find out where she's at and have her hazed a little bit.
That'd be cool.
So Mo will probably kick me for that one, but he'll appreciate it too.
So that's like such a an amazing source of pride to have like compelled service like that, and then to have people from other countries go back to Israel to serve is just like it's out of this world. Like you wouldn't find that in expats, right?
No, right? So like
American expats.
We with IDF with the IWI, we have our IWI Academy, and we teach operator to bore operator-ish rifle classes. Operator 1, 2, and 3, and 2 of our guys are former IDF.
Mm-hmm.
These guys live in the United States, mind you. They're still reserves in the IDF.
Oh, really? They get called up?
Yeah. Well, here's the better part. They happily pay for a 14-hour flight to go spend 2-3 weeks living in a hut or a tent, walking, patrolling on either the Gaza Strip or Lebanon-Syria border as their reserve duty status.
Huh.
Happily do it. Pay you out of their own pocket
Oh, you're kidding.
to fly 14 hours back to Tel Aviv, depending on where you live. If it's Dulles, tell you 14 hours. Right into Istanbul, right over to Tel Aviv. That's crazy, right?
That is crazy.
But it brings like, wow, man, I wish like everybody in the United States could be like that, you know, just a sense of pride. But
yeah, it's interesting you bring up Texas too, because I lived there for almost a year, and that's one of the things I said is that Texas has national pride. Like,
no doubt.
They look at it as their nation, not their state. You know.
Yeah, and that's cool for them, right?
It is.
I mean, I've always said, right, like if ever I retire, it's probably going to be, I'm from Florida. I grew up around the water, but it's either going to be back in Florida, the Gunshine State, Texas, or Tennessee. At the end of the day, right? They're all freedom-loving, pro-Second Amendment, no state income tax.
That's a huge one.
That's the biggest one, right? But yeah, so between work, which ties up a lot of my time. I mean, if you see me on the range, I'm still working. I believe freedom and money don't sleep.
Right.
So between that, I try to train as much as I can with firearms, but also with the weights. Whether it's just even a quick run just to clear the head, or I just bought a whole Rogue set and put it in my garage. Or messing with weapon stuff, right? I'm constantly working on rifles, working with optics, testing this package versus that package, looking at ballistics. It's just fascinating to me. Some people like cars, and some people like fishing and hunting, and I like all that too. But if I can go down to my workshop in my basement, basically, and crank out some loads on the reloader, or work on a rifle, get it ready to go to the range. It may be a month or 2 or 3 before I actually get it on the range. Like I just got a Modern Outfitters 308 with a proof research barrel, and put a Vortex 3.5 to 3.5 to 18 on it. I can't tell you when I'll actually get out to shoot it, but it's ready to go. It's bore sighted, and I've got a lot of dry fire behind it. I did shoot it a little bit at our range at IWI. It's only 25 yards. But I'll get out at some point and stretch it out a little bit. And I also just got a Barrier Performance bolt gun. Stephen Barrier is a former colleague of mine when I was at SAC, and I picked up one of his rifles, bolt guns. That's
cool.
So that's pretty much me, right? I got a dog, so take care of him.
Ranger.
Little Siberian Huskies, first time he's ever seen snow. When we moved.
Does he like it?
Yeah, man. He just laid down and rolled around like a little, like, you know.
Like, I'm home.
Yeah, I hate it. Meanwhile,
Yeah, no
I
kidding.
don't like being cold at all. During that great monsoon of Three Gun
Oh,
Nation
yeah.
Nationals, it was also cold. So, but
I've,
yeah.
I've seen you shivering, though, when it's like 65
Yeah, man. I grew up in
outside.
Florida, man. If it gets below 60, I'm not happy.
Yeah.
But I'm getting better with it. I've learned that, you know, really it's all about one thing: buy Arc'teryx or Vertex clothing. You won't be
Yeah.
horrible.
It's gear, man.
If
It's
you-
like everything
Yeah,
else.
but-
It can all.
But then my laundry bill goes up because I hate doing laundry, so it's like now I got to do more.
Right.
But yeah, so that's me. You know, between that and that, I mean, I do a lot of consulting as well.
Mm-hmm.
And-
So, Jeremy, we met when you worked at SAC.
Yep,
And the first time
Rocky Mountain.
Yeah, the first time we met was at Rocky Mountain 3-Gun. Let's see. So this was when Tommy Thacker was working at Timney.
Yep.
And you guys were co-workers,
Yeah,
friends.
Tommy hired me, right?
Yeah. So he hired you at SAC,
Yep.
and then he went to work for Timney.
Yep.
Right. So he's got this big Timney trailer out of
Yep.
Rocky Mountain, and I was hanging out at Rocky Mountain doing podcasts and stuff, and I was going to go meet up with Tommy. So I walk into the trailer, and you guys are having this argument about 3-Gun and marketing and et cetera, et cetera. And I was like, I don't like that guy.
Yeah.
That guy's kind of a jerk.
Yeah. And, you know, really, man, a lot, you know, like I said, it started at the beginning, you know, I say a lot of things that people don't like.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, there's a lot of people thinking about it,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm not worried about who's going to hear it or who it's going to get back to, because at the end of the day, my job is to promote and sell my product,
Sure.
and I'm going to tell it like it is.
Well, and a lot of the things that you were talking about are things that I think get revisited quite a bit, either in my head or discussions I have with other people in the industry.
Yeah.
And by industry, I mean people that like work in the industry, not people that shoot 3-Gun.
Mm-hmm.
And you're spot on about a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And so it's funny, like now knowing you for a few years, like
He wasn't all that
He's
crazy.
loud, but he knows what he's talking about
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, I've been to I served in the military for a little bit, and then went to Florida State, and I ran a gun store there. That was my first piece of the industry.
Right.
Was working retail. I walked into a store to buy a pistol. I remember it like it was yesterday. I went in there to buy a Glock 19. Ended up talking to the owner, and he's like, "Hey, would you like a job?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure."
Really? After just like BS with
Yeah,
him?
just BSing with him about firearms and stuff like that. And he gave me a job, and then I ended up running that gun department with another guy for a while. And on the side of that was chasing down high-grade wood for the Beretta Gallery.
Yeah.
It's a big market, man. It's interesting, but you learn a lot about, like, you watch the shows where guys are like bidding on storage wars, right?
Yeah.
These guys, I mean, you got a guy who's got a 35-year-old French walnut tree in his his backyard in the middle of England, and there's Poli, Perazzi, Fausti, Beretta, Holland and Holland. Everybody's there bidding on this tree because they want the tree, so
That
they
just
can
blows my mind.
so they can buy it and chop it up for high grade good guns for over and unders.
Right.
So I chased those around for a while. Got an opportunity to go as a buyer for the tactical department. It's like all AR-15s, all accessories for AR-15s, and all optics for one of the larger, if not the largest wholesaler in the industry, and made quite a ruffle feathers there.
No.
I wasn't there for the betterment of myself. I was there for the betterment of the company and learn. And I knew product. So one thing I'm constantly looking at product. I actually just got an email as we're sitting here, Trigicon sending me the thermal that I ordered a couple weeks ago. Just because I want to try it.
Sweet.
If I don't like it, I'll sell it. I don't care. I mean,
Right.
at the end of the day, it's if you don't like something, why have it in safe? Give it to somebody else. Sell it to somebody else. So I went there, and then Tommy pulled me out of my desk and said, "Hey, this is going to be a great idea." He's a great recruiter, just like an Army recruiter. Bunch of lies. Pulled me out of my desk went there as the East Coast sales manager for just Armalite, and then went from that to national sales manager of SAC, and then VP of Sales and
which is Armalite, Surgeon, Nexus, Macmillan,
and AWC.
AWC silencers. Yeah.
Yeah, and then went from there to VP of all that.
Mm-hmm.
And man, that year that I was running as the VP, I spent 281 nights in a hotel. It absolutely destroyed me, and realized that wasn't conducive for a long-term lifestyle.
You know what else it destroyed, Jeremy?
What?
Santiago's green chili.
Yeah, dude. That came about with my contacts up at Sports Authority. That's how I found out about Santiago's crack, man, is going up there working with those guys. And then actually my a lady that I worked with at USC, the Ellett Brothers and Jerry's, the wholesaler, she started right before I did as the VP of planning and inventory, and she came from Sports Authority. So, like, we were having this stuff shipped, which, by the way, I need some more.
I'll get you some.
Yeah, so if you've never been up to Denver and visit Dave, go do that and have him run by Santiago's and get pork ring chili.
Yeah, so for the people that don't know, there's a burrito shop.
Yeah.
It started out as a burrito shop in Denver. It's called Santiago's, and now there's like several of them all over the metro area. But they make like amazing breakfast burritos, and the secret is the green chili. It's freaking fantastic. But they also, in Denver, and probably several other places, but I've only seen it in Denver, they sell it at like King Soopers or Safeway.
Yeah, I've never seen it anywhere else other than Denver.
So it's frozen, and so I took some, packed it up in like cold pack, and sent it to Jeremy, and I
was gone for like 3 months straight.
And
came back and it was
in the Florida heat.
Yeah, it was a great smell when I came home. But yeah, that's some good stuff. But yeah, man. So I left SAC with no real like clear picture of what I was going to do. But I knew I was going to stay in the industry. I just didn't want to do that anymore.
Right.
And Casey Flack, the CEO of IWI, I remember when he first started as the LE sales manager for IWI, called me. And we just got talking about whatever and whatnot. Actually, take that back. As a joke, I saw the opening for Director of Sales and Marketing on the NSSS website, and I knew he would see the email. So I sent him an email with my resume, and as the title said, ha, ha, ha. And that was like at 10:30 at night. Well, no more than 11 p.m. I had a phone call from Casey.
Oh, really?
He's like, yeah, dude, I was going to call you soon. And I'm like, well, it just so happens to happen that I recently have become unemployed. So, I mean, I'll entertain it. I bought the product.
Well, you had in mind to do something completely different, too.
Yeah, I wanted to do something different. I knew I wanted to stay in the industry, so I was looking at not necessarily the same platform of rifles, but I was looking at optics as well. Looking at anything that, just something, change it up, diversify the portfolio a little bit. And so yeah, and now I'm here. It's been great. It's completely different than anything I want. I'm an importer. I'm not a manufacturer right now.
Yeah.
And I deal a lot with other countries that Israel can't work with. So it's just it's fun. I got 3 other people in sales and marketing with me, and we travel around and sell the good, man.
Yeah.
And we've got one or two sponsored shooters, Adam Lickey and Kelly Samsel.
Yeah. So, okay, you brought to sponsor shooters. So when you worked at SAC, you had a
Dream
pretty
team.
pretty big shooting team with Armalite.
Yeah.
You had a shooting team with Surgeon.
Yeah.
And then
Couple
2 guys with Nexus.
Yeah, a couple guys with Nexus. Yeah.
Yeah. So you had like a ton of great shooters. You've got like Greg Jordan, Hunter Kale, Rick Torres,
John Murray,
Regina
Milkovich was on Team Surgeon, Matt Brassow.
John Murray. Yep.
Matt Brassow, Dave Preston, Bannon, Paul Reed. We had a great Team Surgeon
And a ton of great ambassadors as far across the board too. You got Jay Carrillo at Armalite, Fausto Vaca.
Yep. And then
man, I shouldn't have started this list because we're going to leave someone out and they're going to feel bad.
Yeah, trust me.
We're thinking of you if we left you out.
I had the dream team.
Yeah.
Right? If he comes down to it, right? I had arguably the best team in the 3-gun.
Tom Lackley. There we go.
Yep. There's my little junior buddy. Dude's trigger fingers unreal. It's like a Gatling gun. If I can that's why I put him in. So we'll get back to the teams, but quick note on Tom, right? When he came on the team his first year, the deal was he had to shoot limited. I forced him to a dot in 10 rounds to slow him down. Because when he gets on his little machine gun runs, he won't hit a damn thing, but he'll shoot 1,000 rounds. But so Greg and I were talking about how to make him a better shooter. And just like in production with USPSA, you learn how to load and you learn your footwork real well.
Yeah, and honestly, like I go back to the USPSA discussion. When I started shooting USPSA, I had a mentor, Ben Go, and he said the exact same thing. He's like, you should shoot production.
Yep.
Because you're fast, but you suck.
Yep.
So this will help you get more accurate.
So, yeah, we stuck him in limited for the first year, and this year, before I left, I allowed him to go into a 1-6 vortex, excuse me. And, and then Team Surgeon, I mean, we pretty much crushed holes when we were there. And, overall, man, we had a great team.
Right.
And Team Surgeon, there's a couple of them left. Team Armalite's still together, as it is today at least.
So you have a lot of experience in having sponsor shooters, supporting sponsored shooters, supporting matches all around the country. Last year at Gen 3 Gun, Armalite came out huge.
Yeah.
And it was just a ton of rifles on the table. All the ROs had Armalite on their shirts, match staff and stuff like that. So you're the guy behind all that.
Yeah.
I know you're looking down. You don't like to hear that, but that's the truth. And so, the 3 Gun Show audience should hear and know that. What value do you see for a company like Armalite or a company like SAC or a company like IWI in competitive shooting?
Well,
or even greater, like industry-wise.
Yeah. I mean, so I know a lot of people think it's all, glory and whatnot, right? And I've said it before. If you're looking for your shooter to be a salesman for you, you're in the wrong game for him. What I looked for my teams was being a good human and a good ambassador of shooting sports in general, welcoming people into the game. Right? It's very intimidating when you, as a new shooter, or anything that you do is new, to see a person walking around basically like a billboard.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
yeah,
if
then you feel like left out because you're wearing your Rogue T-shirt.
Exactly. So that's really one is like obviously you're gonna have solid fundamentals, looking for growth potential as well.
As far as athletic performance, is that what you're talking about?
Just as a shooter.
Okay.
Both mentally and personally, growing into a young man or woman.
Oh, okay.
Just are you going to be a good human? Because at the end of the day, you can get the best product in the world, but if you got the crappiest people representing you, I don't want your product at all. And I think a lot of people feel that way. But also, I'm looking for the guys or women that are students of the game. And what I mean by that is, as a factory, you 3 gunners, let's just talk about IWI or even Armalite for that matter, 3 gunners in general, you all are going to push rifles, pistols, and shotguns harder than any real product development can. And I'm not, I can stand in a Connex trailer and just bang away at 25,000 rounds.
Right.
But I'm not putting it in any type of element. I'm cleaning it every now and then. I'm not throwing it in a dump barrel or anything in that
shooting
nature.
Shooting in the rain, shooting in the dirt.
Y'all are going to put these weapon systems through a pace that I can't simulate as a factory. I could, but why? So I look for I'm really looking for product development is how I viewed it, and that was my value added to the teams with Greg and Rick and my team as a 3 gun and John and Tom was what could we do to our rifles to make them better? What could we do to our ammo as far as do lot powder testing, and then at the time SAC is still in Arizona. Well, if it's shooting X amount of feet per second in Arizona at sea level, what's it doing with Rick in Delaware at sea level? What's it doing with Greg at a little bit above sea level? And what's it doing for Tom in Georgia?
Yeah, me in Denver.
Yeah, what's my ammo doing? And with the guns, how are they reacting to different climate based? You're shooting matches in the cold.
Yep.
I think I saw on her Instagram today, Dakota is here at TriggerCon.
Yeah.
She lives up in the Arctic tundra, I think.
Minnesota.
But I saw some matches where, like, she's, like, sliding on ice and stuff like that, right? Like, JP's already there, but, you know, that's in the element, right? Mm-hmm. So, you know, that's how I looked at sponsor shooters, and that's how I look at them now, is I'm not looking at – I mean, obviously I want you to be a good human being, but if, you know, I heard somebody once say, like, if I've got to give you a code to sell my product, you're just a crappy salesman.
Right.
Because I don't need a discount to sell it to the people I'm selling to. Why do you need one? But at the end of the year, getting information back about what our platforms are doing and how they're performing was priceless. I don't know how you can put a tangible value, but I can tell you a lot of times we were making inline changes based off of what our teams were telling us, whether it was team surgeon and our actions, and the way we seeded barrels or everything in that nature, or ammo if we were trying. And then with our 3-gun rifles, when I was at Armalite, and now our rifles with Tavor and Adam and Kelly, and even others, right? I put rifles on the prize table for a couple of reasons, right? I sponsor matches. One, because I believe in competitive shooting sports. Standing static on a range is boring, any way you look at it.
Yes.
Right? Driving a car, if all you could do is go in a straight line at the speed limit, like you could put it to the floor and it goes 55 miles an hour, you would want to do it. But we get on a highway and we think we're fast and furious. So
did you say that because we're in Seattle? Have you noticed all the Fast and Furious cars around here?
That dude,
it's incredible.
Top. But you know, you get on a range, you start moving. One, it elevates the heart rate, gets your adrenaline. Everybody's an adrenaline person. If you're shooting a firearm, you understand what you're doing, and that's controlling an explosion.
Yeah,
that's gotta say something.
Yeah. Well, and I'm sorry to interrupt, but you know, there's folks, and I experienced it today because you know we didn't mention it, but we're here in Bellevue, Washington, and we're gonna go to TriggerCon tomorrow for the next few days. And today was range day. I'm here with Vortex Optics. We had a bunch of sweet guns out there, and we had a lot of people come by that were gun shy, and they're experiencing elevated heart rate, sweaty palms, you know, and the adrenaline as well from just pulling the trigger, sitting down at a bench, you know, shooting a target at 100 yards. And so, yeah, I guess, you know, escalation of looking for that juice.
Yeah, so I mean,
competitive shooting.
You take a new shooter, right? You take them out on the range, you want to get them safe first. So put them behind a bench, get them on a bag, teach them the fundamentals of firearm safety, right?
But eventually that juice goes away.
Eventually that's going to get boring real quick.
Yeah.
So you start moving, right? Whether it's left and rights, and then you start putting forwards and backwards, north and south in them. But I believe in competitive shooting sports because there's a competitive person in every human being. Some are better than others, or bigger than others. Some absolutely like throw temper tantrums when they lose. But hey, that's just what they are. But there's a competitive soul in every person, and you've introduced the firearm and competitive shooting sports. So I put the prizes on the prize table, or sponsor a match in some cases, with the intent of a little bit of marketing. Maybe somebody grabs my rifle off a prize table that could use it. My hope is that if somebody, eventually it's going to find a home, right? If a top shooter, call it Dylan Easley, pulls a Tavor off a table, he may keep it, he may not, but he's going to sell it to somebody who does want it.
Right.
It's going to find a home. Thus, it's on the range doing what it's supposed to do. But in the same token, you know, I've had many conversations. I don't believe in prize tables. You know, that could be for a different podcast, but I think that if a lot of people say they shoot for the joy of the sport, okay, cool. Well, let's test that theory. Let's take a match that has sold out year after year. Take the prize table away. We'll see how long it takes to sell out. If it does, I hope I'm wrong. But you know, if a little kid goes out and plays football today, doesn't win a single game, gets a trophy at the end of the year, the entire world crucifies football. Yeah. I love football, regardless of whatever I don't believe in what they're doing right now with the whole political and not standing. But I love the sport of football. But we're going to crucify football for a participation trophy.
Mm-hmm.
Yet you can finish dead last in a match. And at some cases, early days, you could walk away with a $250 trigger.
Mm-hmm.
How's that any different? You did nothing to deserve that.
Yeah.
You finished dead last.
It's become like an expectation now, right?
Yeah.
And have you ever done any Spartan races or Tough Mudders or anything like that?
Yeah, I've done quite a few of them. I really like the Battle Frogs.
Oh, okay. I haven't done any of that.
Yeah, all you do is get a medal at the end of it.
Well, so Spartan race, right? I did a ton of Spartan races, and it's what I did. I did that in 3-gun before I started the 3-gun show, and then when I knew that I was going to start the show, I'm like, okay, well, I got to specialize here.
Yeah.
Because I'm spending the podcast is going to be a hobby, and the 3-gun is going to be a hobby to support that podcast, and I don't have room for a third hobby and a full-time job, right? So
Yep.
I got rid of Spartan races, unfortunately, but I really enjoyed them. And at the end, I mean, it's freaking grueling, dude. Like we would do like 5-hour races, 6-hour races. You know, you're doing 13 miles, 50 some obstacles, things like that, in mud, out mud. You're scraping yourself. You've got blood coming out of everywhere, and you're crawling under barbed wire.
Yeah.
You're climbing walls and things like that. And at the end, you cross that finish line, you get a finisher medal and a T-shirt.
Yep.
And
maybe a little drink of beer if it's the Tough Mudders. You got the little the Tough Mudders. You got the little lager at the end of it.
Yeah, Spartan race was like that too, except in Utah, which I was so upset because I would not have gone there. But yeah, it was an accomplishment to complete that race, and I don't think people look at it like that a lot of times.
No.
In 3-gun of like, I completed this match. It's not like the sense of pride in completing the task, right?
Well, we'll only know until we're ready to prove the theory.
Right.
Right. And I do believe the mass majority of people, I hope, truly mean what they say when they're talking on forums online, that they shoot because of the people.
Right.
You've seen me. If you've seen me at a match, I spent almost 3 years and didn't shoot a single match, but traveled to every single major match.
Right.
To support my team.
And you were sending those emails.
Yeah.
At the time.
Sending
You're
emails,
still working.
catching phone calls in the middle of stages, but I was there for a couple of reasons. One, support my team, make sure they were able to do everything they can. Two, support people that were potentially using my product. Mercedes-Benz doesn't sell cars broke down on the side of the road.
Right.
Well, I can tell you that I'll be the first to tell you, equipment breaks.
Yep.
And I was there to help fix these rifles, but I always traveled with 3 extra rifles ready to go, zeroed. One had a Vortex, one had a Leupold, and at the end of it, one had a Collis. And if your rifle went down, I didn't care whose rifle you were using. I handed you a rifle, not for what I want, not for what people are like. Oh, he's using it because he wants you to sell your product. I want you to complete your task. You came here, you paid money, you're away from your family. Complete the task.
Right.
We'll worry about your rifle later.
I think a lot of times people see like a selfless act and they wonder what strings are attached to it, rather than just like, oh, that guy's being a good dude. You know?
Well, even that 3-man 3-gun, right? We just finished that. And I love that match, right? It's there's no real thinking, right? You just shoot.
Yeah.
So,
that's true. That is nice.
But on the shotgun stage, right? There's 130 pieces of steel.
Right.
And this one guy had
3 shooters.
Yep. One guy had a JM Pro that was having some issues with him, and it wasn't a feeding issue. Like it flat out wasn't firing. Like click, nothing. I don't know if he broke a firing pin. Doesn't matter. I held the mail back to because I had just finished shooting. My shotgun, I'm sure, was hot, and I was running an A5. And I handed it to him, and I was like, give me that piece of crap gun and shoot this. I'm not saying Mossberg's a bad gun, but at the time, it was holding him up.
Like that particular one.
Like you could, like when you're ejecting rounds, like you can only carry so many rounds on your chest anyways and on your body. So you have enough to get it through what you need to do and hope that you got enough at that point. But I gave him my gun, and people were like, are you trying to promote Browning? I'm like, I'm not sponsored by Browning. I paid for that and sent it to Mark Roth to have him do the work for it. Like, I'm not like... I'm sponsored by IWI because I have to. I work there. And at the end of it, right, like when he was done, he's like, hey, dude, like, tell me about your shotgun. And I'm like, I'm not the person you should talk to because, I know what it does.
Yeah, ask Greg.
I know, exactly. Ask Greg, Rick. Ask one of the dudes that have the little sticker that says A5 Posse. Like, they, like, let me into the club. But
Because you got the stickers made?
Yeah, pretty much, probably. No, actually, my buddy got those stickers made. But, I just told him, I said, hey, dude, if it's a Benelli, a Franke, a Stoger, a Breda, whatever shotgun, use what you got. Just, what I try to tell a lot of people is we go out on the range a lot as shooters, and it's glory to go out there and shoot, right? But where I think a lot of people lack is understanding the failure points in which their firearm has.
Right.
Which segues into preventative maintenance.
Sure.
Right?
Let's pause on the preventative maintenance real quick, though, because I want to get back to supporting matches.
Okay.
So let me ask you this. So we should probably do like a whole prize table podcast because this is like a real rabbit hole we can go down. But if prize tables go away, how would or could IWI support the shooting sport?
So I'm not going to name the match that I've been talking to, but I told them that I will sponsor the match with product to put as a raffle.
Oh, okay.
And the money goes to a local charity, whether that's LE, not the Wounded Warrior Project, but Wounded Warrior, firefighter, EMT, goes to something that gives back to the community, or Gen 3 or the 2A junior camps, right? Something that can get back into whether it's pro Second Amendment or helping the people who protect us while we sleep. That would be my sponsorship. Let me send a couple guys, put a tent up, put some rifles there, $1 a ticket, or, right, in your match fee, you have $20, 20 tickets, and you pick on practice score.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Plug for Ken Nelson.
He don't need it.
Yeah, I know, right? You pick what tickets you want and which guns, and then at the end of it, right, you pull the number, and you've paid essentially for that gun, but you've paid a minimum $1. But that money is then going back away. So it's not really, some of that money can go towards. I do believe you should pay for first, second, and third, right? If you win a match.
How deep? Just third? What about fourth guy?
Train harder. At what point did it not become enough to say you finished fourth or fifth or 10th? I finished 19th. Well, out of 91 teams at three man. So it's like I'm in the top third. I think math says so.
Well, so this started like a long time ago, right? The prize table thing. And
I think it drove a lot of people out of the game, too.
I think it drove people out, and I think it drove people in. It keeps people in. It keeps people out.
Yeah.
Right? So it'll be interesting to see how it settles.
But at the end of the day, I don't mean it with the disrespect, but if you take it that way, pound sand, don't care. I don't want you in this game if you're using the game for the little monetary compensation you're going to get from the prize table. I don't want you in it. I'd rather you go do something else. Go do something else you can get a participation trophy for. Have fun. I don't care.
There's really not another sport where you can go get paid for a mediocre finish.
At the end of the day, name another industry, right?
Right.
That is consistently under attack politically.
Right.
So we need all the help we can get. I don't need you here for monetary gain. I need you here because you like to shoot, you believe in our constitutional God-given right, and you're going to help bring people in to help vote that way.
So if you're not rowing, get off the boat.
Yeah. Like, if you're not with me, you're against me.
Right.
And I know that's probably going to hurt some people's feelings, right? But, that's people know me. Like, I honestly believe that this is the greatest nation, and we have some of the greatest constitutional rights, and we need to protect those rights. I don't want to get in political, but at the end of the day, if you're playing this game for the political or monetary value, it's the wrong game to play.
Right.
Because I can assure you, even if you are getting that $125, $200 trigger, it's not enough to matter at the end of the day, right?
No.
I mean, how much money do we spend on weightlifting gear, CrossFit gear, our trucks, or our cars, right? You're doing that because you want to. Why is this got to be any different?
Yeah, I've done, now that I think about it too, I've done some CrossFit competitions where they didn't pay 54th place.
No.
And out of 54 teams, and I mean, the experience is enough.
Well, here's my theory, right? And I don't know this to be true. I've never been a match director, never put a match on, but I know a lot of them, and I've talked to a lot of them between Travis Gibson, Mark Roth, Larry Houck, the boys down in Texas with Kurt and Aaron, Chad Francis, and I talk a lot. If you took the prize table away, that seems like that ties up a lot of their time.
Yeah.
And everybody I've talked to and we see on the forums say that they shoot the match because of the stages. So in my mind, if I can take that match director's attention, devote it towards putting stages on the ground,
right.
do I then net equal a better match?
Right.
I don't know. Don't know that to be factual, but I feel like it could. I mean, the concept sounds good.
Right.
So if you could do that, I think that would work out. And so that's how IWI and Jeremy will continue to sponsor matches, is not necessarily I'm sponsoring the match. Is I'm sponsoring to help to give back.
Right.
It's not for it's not for people to take it off the prize table, but it's if we win a rifle, hey, you can do what you want with it. I don't care. You can win.
Well, so there are several matches that don't go deep on prize tables.
Yeah.
One that I shot last year was the Red October Kalashnikov Championship. Yep. This is a wonderful transition, by the way. But there was no bitching. No, I didn't hear complaining or anything like that amongst the competitors, because they were there for the experience of shooting. And so to make a transition away from the prize table talk, that this is a match that IWI is supporting for 2018.
Yep.
And we're actually going to see you out there shooting.
Yeah, man. I'm running if you follow me on Instagram, you've seen the rifle. It's getting tuned up and going. I mean, yeah. I'm going full open retard on this one.
I don't think you can say that.
Yeah, it's okay. I'm not worried about it. It's that open style. I mean, I put a dot on that rifle and I become open.
Mm-hmm.
It's
not. So that's an interesting thing. So so for people who haven't shot Red October, you really should. If you can't find an AK, if you don't own an AK, borrow one. That's what I did last year, and I'm borrowing another one this year. But it's a fun match, and they have divisions for a lot of different things, including just basic comm block guns, right? So it's not only the Kalashnikov, it's AK variants, and then like all these other weird things that people dug out of the ground and want to go out and shoot in a match, where it's not necessarily appropriate to shoot that in a match in 3-gun, or maybe they're intimidated by 3-gun, or they don't have 3 guns, they don't like the shotgun, whatever. But this is the largest collection of people shooting Kalashnikovs, and IWI, Jeremy's there.
Yeah. And
the Galil fits the bill, right?
Yeah, man.
So let me talk about the divisions real quick. So they have Kalash Heavy, which is 7.62 by 39 or bigger, iron sights. And then they have Kalash Light, which is 5.56 or smaller.
Iron sights.
And then you
both
put
of those in heavy or open. Both of those in open now.
You put a sight on anything, and then it's open.
Yeah. Which means you now just do all open.
Yeah, exactly. So that's
drums,
what
brakes.
Exactly. So if you're going to go open, you go open. And I chose to do the same thing. So we're going to be shooting against each other.
Yeah, but you'll be in light, though. I'm shooting 7.62 by 39.
Is there open heavy and an open light?
I don't know.
I thought it was just open.
Well, I guess it's just open. I don't care.
We're going to have to look that up. Talk.
I'll look it up. And Becky Ackley's joining us, too, right?
Becky Ackley's going to join us. So fun fact. Last year, I wanted to go shoot this match, didn't have an AK, and I was going to borrow one from Brian Nelson. Get out to Red October, and one of the ROs was already using it, and I wanted a little bit of time because I hadn't shot an AK in a long time. So I wanted a little bit of time on it, and I think it was also being used as a hammer to pound in stakes for
100%.
targets and stuff like that, which is what you do with an AK. So Becky's like, oh, we'll just share. We got plenty of ammo. So I shot Becky's rifle, which is actually Tim's rifle. She was, borrowing for the match. So she borrowed a rifle, and I borrowed her borrowed rifle.
Yeah.
And got to shoot Tim's ammo, which was awesome. The only the best ammo in the world is someone else's ammo. So I got to shoot Tim's ammo. And this year, I've got the AK.
Yeah.
I've got the Galil 5.56 version.
Yep.
And Becky's going to borrow that one. So we're going to have the Dave and Becky off.
Yeah, so I think on our squad too, right? So we'll have you and Becky running a Galil. Me and my team, so Rebecca, Tom, and Ben are all running Galils. Corinne Mosier is running a Galil.
Oh, really?
And
is she shooting with us?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, so we'll have a whole Galil squad, right?
Sweet.
And
what's she shooting? I don't want to shoot in the same division.
7.16 by 39.
Is she shooting open?
I'm sure she's shooting open. So she'll beat all of us. Whatever.
I think she shot irons last year.
I don't know, but I'm sure she'll crush us.
Oh no, she did have a dot on that.
She had that Bushnell dot on there.
Yeah. No, it was a Vortex Spark last year.
I've seen pictures this year. It's a Bushnell.
Is it Bush? Well, this year it's Bushnell. Last year it was a Spark. So you've seen. Damn it.
So
Corinne's good
so
at the
she's
AK.
gonna crush us, right? And I mean the Galil is what everybody wanted in the AK, right?
Yeah. So let's talk about that. People ask me like, "Oh, is that an AK?" And like you and I had this conversation on the phone, and you're like, "It walks like a duck. It quacks like a duck."
Yeah. So in the late 50s, right? The IDF adopted the FN FAL as a battle rifle in 7.62 by 51. And they tested a couple of variants of that rifle. And the first, it saw like its first major combat in the 6 Day War in 1967. And they found out real quick that while the FAL is a great rifle, it does have some limitations when it comes to being in sand.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it doesn't like being in sand, man. Sand and dusty area conditions, it's prone to malfunctions pretty quickly.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So
the right arm of the free world. Is that what it's called?
Yeah. So this was later attributed to the lack of maintenance given to the IDF.
Yeah.
Given from the IDF to the gun. But thus came the Galil. They took what they knew of the AK and the caliber 7.62 by 51, 308, and made an AK. It's a mill gun.
Did they make it 7.62 by 51?
First, yeah.
No shit.
Yeah, and then it came down some other stuff. So what we bring in the country is actually called a Galil Ace. The original Galils, people like fight me to try to bring more in.
You know what's crazy? So I did a little bit of, it's probably not crazy to you, but I did a little bit of research on the Galil, and they've been constantly improving this thing over like the last
50 years. Yeah.
Whereas Russia was just like, well, this one's good.
Yeah. so we're like I said, so you, Corinne, Becky, me, Rebecca, Tom, Ben, I think a couple others are all running Galils in various configurations.
And so it is, piston driven like an AK.
Yep.
The bolt looks like an AK. It has the AK dust cover. Charging handles on the correct side, which will be the opposite side. It does reciprocate.
It does,
which I found out the hard way.
Hard way, yeah.
Drop the bolt on that little button,
and then ding.
I was like, "What does that button do?"
Yeah, pump right near your thumb.
Yeah, I got a nice little bruise in the back of my thumb.
Yeah, I did that too. Don't worry. I was like, "Hey, what's that do?" Clink. Oh, mash button.
I did that exact same thing. Cool thing about the 5.56 that drew me to it is, if we're gonna go open, we're gonna go open, and it takes PMags.
Yep.
And so I was really hoping it would take the D60, and sure enough, it does.
Yeah, and if it doesn't, you can cut some of that plastic off.
Yeah, and it takes it just fine. Locks the bolt open on the last round, which is another unique thing to the Galil over an AK. So several cool updates on it.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people, right, just don't know that there's so many people making great aftermarket accessories for it. Midwest Industries makes a rail and different rail configurations. RS Regulate does some same stuff. Geisley makes a trigger, or ALG makes a trigger for it. I actually sent one to Dissident and LAN. Let them to see what they're gonna do to it. Right? You ever watch like Street Outlaws on Discovery Channel? Right?
I've heard of it. I've never watched it.
Well, they got this guy on Street Outlaws called the Mad Scientist, and he's always messing with something. And I look at LAN, that guy, right? Him and Mike are always tinkering with something. And I didn't know who they were, right, until NRA. Like, I follow them on Instagram, and I've talked to them on, like, Facebook and stuff like that, but I've never met them. Well, I see these two guys.
They were in the KVAR booth. Like, that was pretty close to where you guys were.
So I see these two guys over here messing with my guns, and I walk over there. And they're like, yeah, we're from Distant. And we got talking, and we hit it off. And I'm like, well, if I could ever send you guys a gun, let me know. And then after World Shoots, Land hit me up and was like, hey, man, I'd like to look at one and see what we can do to it and trick it out. So I sent him one, and we may actually raffle it off for some money for to help fund a true team to go over for the Shotgun World Shoots.
Oh, no kidding.
Couple years.
Hey, that'd be cool.
It's interesting, we're getting segue off something, but USPSA, they go full bore on pistol. When it comes to pistol, they're going to put best team forward.
Right.
Shotgun rifle, don't care.
They don't care. Mike Foley has said that much on a podcast he's been on, too.
Yeah, well, the unfortunate piece about that is that look, I got nothing against anybody.
They're the gatekeepers. They hold the keys, and they don't want to.
Well, who's the gatekeeper is the industry, and if the industry stops funding it and the money dries up from the industry side, he'll open his eyes real quick. If you don't believe me, ask 3 Gun Nation. That's how that works, right? The industry is going to drive it. The guys with the biggest pockets are going to drive what they want. So, if we bark loud enough, people will pay attention. But yes, there's back to Red October. It's going to be a good little match. TPC is a great venue. I think Brian said he's not the match director this year.
Yep.
But I'm sure he'll have a big hand in putting it on the ground.
Yep. It's doing a bunch of stages and stuff.
Yeah, and so we'll have.
Was that hard as hell?
No, I think it's.
That was Red October? I don't know.
And the kid's
we'll
busy.
Find out.
Yeah. But either way, it'll be a good little match. And last year they had like RPKs, RPDs.
Mm-hmm. They had a really interesting. So SUPS is cool because they have just a shitload of bays, right?
Yeah.
And to test out a gun, you don't necessarily need 500 yards of space, right?
Nope.
So they threw several demos, set aside several bays for demos, and they had a ton of great companies there that were letting you try out their rifles and everything. So that's one really cool thing about Red October is that it's because it is the only place really that you can shoot Kalashnikovs in like a match environment, then like the people that are into that stuff that create a widget or a little piece that goes into here and changes this functionality. And they're fanatics about it.
Oh, they're all about it.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, so on my rifle, right? So I have the Midwest extended handguard.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a brake on it, pull some recoil. I ordered a K&S Precision piston, which is designed to pull some recoil off the rifle.
Yeah, you mentioned that the other day. What does that do? Does it bleed off gas or something?
It's adjustable gas. It's basically adjustable gas block for an AK, but it's a piston.
It's an adjustable piston.
It's
I think for the 5.56.
Yeah. Yeah. It's let me know. And then I put the ALG. Let me tell you, that trigger is light, buddy.
Is it?
It took me a little bit. I was like, because I'm so used to the R's, right?
Yeah.
Clink, clink, clink. I pulled the trigger. I was like, oh, wow. Okay. So then I set the range. I'm running that. And then I ordered a K&S Precision rear trunnion, which then allows it to adapt to an M4 stock.
Yep, I did that too.
And then I'll put an M4 stock on there. But I don't know, man. I really like our stock. It locks up solid. And I'm running a Hollow Sun.
Yeah.
Lewis over there at Hollow Sun sent us some optics, and I was like, I'll beat it up. I always travel with a spare.
Mm-hmm.
Zeroed. I know where it needs to. I'll confirm zero if something breaks. Even if I was running the Vortex from Adam or Ruben, I would always have a spare. There's nothing worse than your optic going down when you need it the most in the middle of the match. So
as far as the stock goes, so I've shot it a little bit with iron sights and a little bit with the red dot, and I feel kind of stupid saying this, but so the stock is it's folding like an AK. It's pretty cool. Everybody loves that, and then the cheek weld for the iron sights is great and it has super low iron sights on it.
Yeah,
it's not like an AR, right?
No.
And then when you throw a red dot on it, it's like that all goes out the window, and you got to like raise your head a little bit.
Yeah, or you yank the cheek piece off and put the low mount on,
which I did not realize was also in the box.
Oh,
right. So I'm like, well, why would they have this big pick rail on top when you put an optic on it,
Yeah.
and then you can't even see it.
So what
And
you
then-
do, right, is you pull that rear dust cover off, and there's a detent underneath the rear sight, and you
Yeah.
push it in and pull your rear sight off is what I
Right.
did. And now I've got the hollow sun mounted basically flush to the Picatinny, and I yanked my cheek piece off.
Oh, you're kidding.
And
So it's not
it's-
even on.
Yeah,
You
my
didn't
rear
even mount it to
sight's
the pick,
my
huh?
rear sight's not even on the gun anymore. It's a straight line, and I
Right.
actually took an AK front sight tool and backed my front sight completely out. It's just an open window now.
Yeah, that's what I was planning on doing too.
So-
I'm gonna be throwing a Razor 1-6 on top.
That a boy. That's what I
Yeah.
had on mine. I didn't know anything about the match, right? I've heard people go to it, and I've seen it on Instagram and Facebook, but I called you actually. I had a whole dope card built for 500 yards with 7.62 by 39 with a 1-6 with a JM reticle. I was ready to roll, buddy, and I had muzzle velocity. I mean, I had a whole card ready to go in shooter app, and then you're like, yeah, the max range is like 200 yards, and I'm like, yeah, I'm putting the dot on here, dude. I'm taking the weight off.
Yeah, dude. So many people said that we shot 200 yards last year. I swear that there was one target at 130 yards, and that we shot it with a stage gun.
Yeah, at the end of the day, dot.
And everything's big. I mean, like that
Well, it's gotta
television that's sitting across from us over there, like that is the size of a target that you'll be shooting. That's like what, a 32-inch television with a frame on it?
Yeah. So I mean, it's got to be. I mean, the ammo in general is not super accurate. So
Right. Well, and most people run iron sights, so they're
Yeah.
running like surplus Wolf ammo,
they can't help themselves.
lacquered up, junk,
Yeah.
right? And then iron sights, and then it's also an AK. So,
Yeah.
oh
look,
yeah, I threw
man.
that one out there. I saw you roll your eyes.
Well,
but-
I mean, here's the deal, right?
Anyway, so
Yeah.
the targets have
Technology's
to be big and close.
improved. These guys. I mean, I gotta respect the guys that are running dots, but it's the same guys I feel that are like you're fly fishing or going to hunt. Going to spend $3,000 on an elk hunt. Bringing a bow. I get it, right? I get the concept behind.
Why do you want to
bow.
do this the hard way?
But, if I'm going to spend the money or, use technology, right? Hey, put a dot on the gun. Use a fishing rail that's got a bail on it. You flip it and throw it. I got a rifle. I could shoot it. I mean, people I've talked to that go on elk hunts, and they're like, yeah, I couldn't get any closer than 100 yards. If I had a rifle, it'd be on the ground.
Yeah.
So, but that's, at the end of the day, it's always a good time. But, I mean, if you can make it out to the match, if anybody can make it out to the match, come by and see us.
Yeah.
And if anybody wants to shoot the match and they want to borrow my rifle, just get on our squad.
Yep.
Because I'm not running it between two squads. You're on your own at that point.
And they do pretty big squads too. So.
Yeah. So get on our squad, and we'll let you shoot our rifles. Like I said, I got 4 people coming that are team or my employees. So
Yeah,
we'll have
what's
rifles.
pretty incredible, Jeremy, is the I've posted up some photos of the Galil and then the video that you and I did from NRA annual meeting, and I cannot believe how many people have reached out and said, oh, I wanted to shoot that match, but then I was looking at the Galil, didn't know if it was legal, and did get a ruling from Brian, it's legal.
Yeah.
And then several people that own Galils that didn't know about the match.
Oh, they're all about it.
There's people that are going to the match shooting the, they've got their own AK and stuff like that. They're like, "Are you gonna? Can I shoot your rifle after the match?" Like, yeah, absolutely can. So I can't believe the interest in it.
Fun fact, right? So Josh Froelich commented that
Oh,
on there,
God,
right?
yeah.
And I hit him up on Instagram, and I was like, "Hey, are you going to come to the match?" He goes, "Yeah, man, I'm thinking about it, and I'm thinking about buying one of these Galils." I go, "Retail plus 10%." He's like, "What?" And he's like, "I'm like,
he's shooting open.
because then he's gonna crush my soul." And I'm like, "No, I gotta slow this down. Like I can, I mean, look, I can shoot, but you let some of him go in there." I'm like, "Oh man, this is gonna be a bad day."
Oh yeah, he's going though.
Well, yeah, it don't matter.
I guess we don't need to worry about Corinne anymore. Josh is going to kick our butt. Too bad.
She's still gonna beat us. It don't matter.
I
As long
know.
as you beat Becky, and I can talk trash about that.
I got to so close last year, Jeremy. The man, they threw a stage out, dude. I would have won if they hadn't thrown that stage out.
Yeah, woulda, coulda, shoulda.
I know, but that one hurt a lot.
Practice.
All right, I'll practice.
All right, buddy.
I'm gonna get my dope card out to 80.
It's a red dot. You ain't got no other.
Yeah, I'm gonna throw a 45 red dot on there too. Throw that razor
boy.
on the 45. I'm going full open, dude.
Yeah.
So I've done the kind of the similar thing that you did the K&S Trunnion thing on the back, throwing a Dissident stock on there. Dissident Arms has like a pretty cool
Yeah, the
stock
XLR
that,
thing.
Yeah, that they do, and fully adjustable and everything. So I feel like that'll really help.
That's gonna be a cool little gun.
Yeah, I think it's going to be badass. I'm going to make it fit me, and so then it doesn't fit Becky. Don't tell her that. She doesn't listen to the podcast, by the way. And then did the Midwest Rail, ALG Trigger. Rise Armament sent me a break for it.
Okay, cool.
So we're good to go.
Well, you'll be all right
I
then,
think
buddy.
I left a part out there. But, yeah. And then
I
throw
don't
the
know.
Razor on top. It's going to be a good time, man. So Red October Kalashnikov Championship. It's first weekend in October this year instead of the last weekend. It's going to be a good time. Now it feels weird if I wear a costume because last year it was like around Halloween.
Wear a costume. That's out.
You're not wearing a costume.
No.
Doesn't mean I can't.
Well, you can, but you're just going to be weird. I guess people expect that from you, so it's all good.
I tell you what, last year shooting the Red October Kalashnikov Festival or Championship in a 90s gangbanger outfit, like straight out of all the rap I listened to like when I was in high school and everything.
Yeah.
Dude, that made it. That
I thought
took
you were
all
gonna
the
bust
pressure
out
off.
some straight out of Compton music. I was like, what?
I might. Yeah, we'll do that in a minute here.
Yeah. It'd be a good time. I mean, like I said, it's a good match. It's a different culture.
Yeah.
Different base. And there's other matches out there like that, right? I just talked to Chad about this Cola Warrior.
Oh yeah,
Where you
that's
basically
an ALG Geissley thing too, isn't it?
Yeah, you basically chug like 6 sodas and puke your brains out and keep shooting. I'm like, that sounds interesting.
terrible.
That sounds great. I think it's gonna. I mean, but what I do like about that, right? If you read their bylaws, if you take anything off the prize table and you sell it, you're banned from ever competing again.
Oh, how cool is that?
So they have like permanent ban list on their website. They're all handles. You don't know who they are.
Right.
But
Interesting.
right? So like Chad was telling me that he was watching people pass by $250 Geisley triggers and picking up a sling because they needed it.
Oh yeah.
What a novel concept, right? But yeah, I think. But if you win, you get a rifle, or you get the parts to build a rifle. I don't know. I think Chad said Katie won her division.
Oh yeah.
And he's like, "You're gonna have to build a rifle." She's like, "I'm all about it." So
cool. Good for her.
yeah, right. So that's there's all these cool little matches that nobody's ever heard about, but we'll get out there.
We'll bring some light to them on the 3 Gun Show.
Yeah, exactly.
So one of the things we're gonna do with you at Red October is we're gonna walk stages with you and your team.
Yep.
Becky and I are gonna teach your team how to break down stages. Your team has cumulative law enforcement experience, right? But not much practical shooting experience.
I could be misspeaking, but I've got 2 former LE and 1 just normal dude.
Okay.
The 1 just normal dude hadn't shot probably more than 1 match in his
Okay.
entire life, and it probably was like a local club stage match. Rebecca, my female salesman, is coming. She shot some USPSA, I think, and I think she shot the Trigicon World Shoots at some point.
Oh right, yeah.
And Tom's shot some matches, and they're both former LEs, so they've shot a little bit of matches. I don't know how much, but I mean, at the end of the day, hell, I'll be in there listening to you and Becky just break down some stages, because I mean, at the end of the day, everything's a tool.
Yeah.
I may not use the tool,
but
it doesn't hurt for me to put the tool in the toolbox.
Yeah, for sure.
It's like I tell people all the time, I'm like, what's the one tool in the toolbox that serves no purpose, but if you don't have it, your day is miserable if you're working on your car. The damn oil filter wrench.
Yeah.
It does nothing else except that. But if you don't have it, it's hard. I mean, sometimes it's hard to get them off. And, put them in the toolbox, and, I sit there and listen to a lot of what a lot of top-level shooters say about a stage, and then I go to the bottom level and see what they're doing. And sometimes they, I think sometimes the top-level shooters get so focused in what they're doing, right, and they're really good at what they're doing, but the guy who isn't so good at what he's doing, he can see it from a different angle. He's not, tunnel visioned in it at that point. I'm not saying his stage is wrong or his stage is right or vice versa, but, as a mid-level shooter, there's some sides to there's some truth to both sides, right? And so I sit back, typically walk a stage, see how I'm going to do it. I am the type of shooter that I'm going to shoot my game. I could care less, because at the end of the day, I'm just there to have fun.
Yeah.
But I'm going to shoot my game, and I'm going to know I'm not going to push the bar. you push the bar in training. You know, when you're at a match, you know, Coach Bobby Bowden at Florida State said he doesn't coach during the game. He coaches Monday through Thursday during practice. Friday, you've been taught how to do. Or Friday's the walkthrough. Saturday, you've been taught what you need to do, and I'll make adjustments Monday through Thursday.
Huh.
And I firmly believe that. You push the bar and learn your speeds when you're competing or when you're training on your range.
Right.
And when you're out on the range for the match, it should be just common collective. I watched a 60-minute special one time about a guy lives out here in Denver or out west somewhere.
Where are we?
Somewhere in California, somewhere in Washington. But he lives out west, and he's a rock climber, a free solo rock climber. He's like the best in the world.
Yeah, Alex Honnold.
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah.
There's a 60-minute special about that guy, and
I saw that too. It was incredible.
And he's like, he said everything's in like super slow motion. His heart, like they had like the heart rate monitor on him. His heart rate's like at next to nothing, doing the face of
Capitan.
Yeah, and I'm like, with no ropes, just his finger sticking a hole, and I'm like, dude, my heart would be like, it sounded like a minigun if somebody put something there, but yeah, that's I think that's if you look at the top level shooters, you know, Greg, Daniel, Joel, Keith Garcia, Dylan, those guys are just smooth and collective through the stage. Every now and then you'll see them have a friggin' full-blown panic, but it's usually not them induced, right? It's typically what induces their get up and go is something with the firearm itself,
right?
Or the stage, or it's not usually them that's got them jacked up. It's something that's induced that jacked up stage.
So walking stages with top level shooters, I've seen quite a few people, you know, like they kind of get like a group think. And then you'll see a new guy go, well, where are you going to get that target from? And then they'll all go, what?
What target? That one?
Yeah, and I think one of the people that does it really well is Jerry Michaluk. And I didn't really notice this. This was pointed out to me by Ruben Alexson, actually. And he said that, you know, Jerry asks everyone, you know, what do you think of this? What do you think of this stage? What do you think of that target? And he does that to me, too. And I thought it was just like, you know, I was special or something. But he does do it to everyone, and he's doing what you're talking about. It's like tool for the toolbox. Let's see what this guy says. And he values like all those different perspectives, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, to bring it full circle, right? You know, these guys that are at the top of their game, whatever sport in which they're playing, whether it's PRS or what we were talking about, 3-gun and competitive action shooting sports, a couple things that we all notice right out of the gate is super approachable. We all know that.
Yeah.
All the stuff that's the tangible value that you see as the person. But what you don't see is the confidence in their gear. And the reason why that confidence in that gear is there is because of what they know of their gear and the preventative maintenance that they're doing of that gear. And what I mean by that is understanding that this is equipment. It's going to fail you when you need it the most.
Right.
But understanding those failure points and understanding that it's repetition, right? Barrels have a service life. Triggers have a service life. Guys, like when we talked about teams and how you use them, you know, when I was in charge of Team Armalite at the end of the year, I got reports back about the rifles. When do they fail? What's your barrel count? What's your rifle count on your round count on your barrel? And when
you got the firearms back too, right?
Yeah, we would get the barrel back, and sometimes even the whole gun. And really, we're looking for tolerances,
right?
And seeing how much that beating is taken.
The pins are worn out. Seeing if
cutting barrels and seeing, you know, we think a barrel in our testing is going to, you know, 16,000 rounds, holding its accuracy standard, whereas maybe Greg shot it out in 14 and Rick shot it out in 13.5, or, you know, trying to, those aren't actual numbers, but I'm saying, you know, that is where we find our value in our teams, since for me at least, is understanding, in talking to those shooters, is understanding where their rifles or firearms as a whole and what they do to keep them up and running at the top of the game. Because let's face it, if you don't, you subconsciously may say you don't do this, or maybe consciously you do say you don't. But if you don't trust your gear, you're slower.
Oh yeah,
because you're worried about it jacking up. And I got a brand new A5, brought it to a match last year, only had 2 cases of shot shell through it. Well, I can tell you, I was peeking over, looking at the port to see if it loaded. Right. And, you know, these guys know their gear in and out. And they a lot of people spend a lot of time cleaning gear, right? Some of those top level shooters.
The aforementioned Josh Freilich is one of those big ones.
Yeah, some of those other guys, right? They yank the bolt back, can of brake cleaner or Lucas Oil contact cleaner, and hose it out.
Yeah.
And put some oil back in it and run it until it's done. I mean, a lot of those guys are running rifles that have, when it comes to the rifle, like some really super tight tolerances, and they don't want to mess with it. They run it till it's gone.
Right.
I remember watching Greg and Rick shoot one day, and they're both running proof research barrels, and Rick was saying how hot it got. Right, the handguard was getting hot. Right. And Greg said, "Shoot it faster. You won't have to hold on it as long." So I mean,
that's perfect.
And that's really what it's all about, right? And it's having fun. But yeah, I mean, what I take away the most out of 3 years of following the sport of 3-gun and talking some of the top level shooters that are even not in the game anymore. I still talk to Mark Hanisch. That dude goes like that shoot off.
Yeah.
Against Rick Birdsall.
Yep.
With a shotgun, it sounded like a full auto.
He went full ham on that. So, yeah, that Hanisch, that was so much fun watching Hanisch go crazy on that. It was awesome.
Yeah, so I talked to him and Tommy still. Tommy hung the cleats up, but, the mental side of it, Tommy don't practice, but he knows the firearms. Mm-hmm. They all know their weapon system in and out, and they're true students of the game, and they understand where these weapon systems are going to fail, and before they get to that failure point, they make adjustment. And there's nobody better than the PRS guys. Those guys have barrel logs like you and I would never believe. Yeah. They're changing triggers at certain points because of the pressures and the bullets that they're running. These guys aren't bringing barrels to a match until it's got 400 or 500 rounds on it, but after the match, that may be it, right? Depending on the match, that might be the end of it. Put 250 more rounds through it. They yank the barrel. Put another barrel on.
Oh shit.
That's their deal, right? I mean, they when you're loading ammo down to single digit, 1 and 2 SD,
right,
at high velocities, you got to think they're not shooting 400 or 500 yards and 6 MOA targets or 4 MOA.
Yeah,
they're shooting 1 MOA targets at 1 and 2 MOA targets at. I think at Lone Survivor, the closest target last year was 450 meters.
Mm-hmm.
That was the closest. And on top of that, you're on a swinging platform.
Yeah.
But, those guys understand their bullet better than anybody in their weapon system. And I look at some of the guys that have transitioned from 3-gun to PRS. Tyler Payne does it better than anybody else I've ever seen.
Yeah.
You should. But what's unique about Tyler is he's got the 3-gun mentality, right? Gets in the position real quick.
I've seen a lot of NRL, National Rifle League videos because they do like a pretty good job of making like aftermatch videos, or someone does for them.
Yeah.
And man, some of those dudes just like take their sweet ass time.
Well, they don't. There's no time. There's no time on some of those, right?
Yeah.
But what you do know, there is a time cap, right?
Right.
And so, like, you take some of these 3-gunners that go out, right, and they go shoot PRS gas gun stuff. They got 10 rounds, 10 targets in 2 minutes. Beep. They hit 4 targets, 10 rounds, and they still have a whole minute and a half left, right? So what's unique about if you watch Tyler is beep, gets in a position real quick, but he has the ability to pull it back and slow it down and get his hits. But not a lot with 3-gun. It's 60-round drums. We burn it down that way.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, to bring it full circle, right? I mean, I think everybody goes to the range and has a great time at the range practicing. They can make videos and whatnot. But
do it for the gram.
What you don't see behind the closed doors with the Dylan Easleys of the world and Greg and Rick and Keith, I'm going to say the top third shooters, in my opinion, are the notes that are taken about their weapon systems, even at matches. Watch if one of those guys, rifle or pistol or shotgun, has an issue, watch them. They'll typically have a notepad or something, or they're making a mental note. It's getting logged somewhere. Mm-hmm. They're logging how, when, and why. because if the when we were at the Three Gun Nation cold whatever, right? Everybody's shotguns were having issues, if you remember.
Yeah.
Two shooters came up to me, top level shooters, and said, I know what's going on. And I'm like, what are you talking about? It's cold. I don't understand what's going on. They actually went and got coolers, dumped the ice out of the coolers, took hand warmers, stuck their shot shells in the gun because there's such low velocity already. The cold's going to make that primer not ignite as fast.
Yep.
They're heating those bullets up, trying to get them back up and running. Well, one of those guys won. The other guy was in the semifinal with them. You can figure it out from there. But, where did they learn that? Right? Did they learn it over time? Did they learn it by error? I don't know. But at the end of the day, they knew exactly what was going on. And I think it's cool to watch that, right? Because, again, it's a tool. If you can plan ahead and know what's going on, last thing you want is a weapon system going down in the middle of a match, whether it's your optic or your rifle, your pistol, your shotgun, or even your gear, your belt, right? A lot of people, I think, just don't put a lot of focus on that. Right?
Yeah.
They go to the range, they burn it down. You and I have had conversations switching between 55 grain and 77 grain, especially on these rifles that are tuned. They're tuning it to their 77 grain, then they put the 55 grains in, and then it's just a nightmare. I think Three Gun is arguably some of the best well-rounded shooters in the country, if not the world, because they have to be almost basically great at all three weapon systems to J.J. Ricazza, Max Michel, Shane Cooley. They dry fire. They run one weapon system, and they're phenomenal at what they do.
They're masters of it.
Yeah, exactly, right? Whereas like Joe Pitha, right? He was a Olympic shotgun shooter.
Yep. Clay shooter.
So now take the time and effort to put all three together, but also the notes that are going behind closed doors, what they're doing, not in front of the Instagram or, not for the glare of the thing, but, as a sponsorer and a manufacturer and a player of this game, that, just like you said with Jerry asking questions, right, to me is valuable. I want to know, why are you doing that?
Right.
And for me, that I feel like that is the unspoken part that people often overlook is, you went home, you cleaned your gun, cool. And you cleaned it, you went home, you flew to a match. Did you confirm 0 at the match because you just flew there? But also, did you confirm 0 after you cleaned it? I had a hunting rifle one time, 270 Winchester, that if it was a clean bore, about 2 inches low.
Oh, really?
So literally, after I cleaned it, every time after I cleaned it, and I was analing with that rifle. And my bolt guns, I'm anal retentive about it. If I cleaned that 270 before I went out hunting, like the day prior, I'd chamber around, go up my backyard, ping, it'd be 3 feet in the dirt. I didn't care. I needed the bore to be fouled.
Right.
That's how that rifle reacted. And I think that's what all started the whole concept of me looking into things is like, why is this rifle doing that? And I still can't to this day could not tell you why I did it.
Right.
But I had 4 different people shoot it. You cleaned it, shoot it. The first round's going to be about 2 inches low.
Huh.
And the next, however many you want to fire, we're going to be right where you want it.
Right. Well, and correct me if I'm wrong, but because you probably know a lot more precision people than I do, but they're not really big on scraping the lead and copper out of the bore. They just kind of like leave it in there, right?
Yeah.
Leaving the rest of the gun.
Yes, I mean, most of the guys that I've talked to, they basically push. If the gun's shooting after a match, they push 3 to 4 or 5 dry patches.
Dry?
Dry.
Huh.
Through the gun. And if the gun's shooting, roll on. If it's not, they start pushing some wet patches, and that's pulling really like just deactivating nitro. There was this theory back in the day about pulling copper out of the barrel, and I think I don't know who started it, but I remember the first time I heard it. But it was a SHOT Show a number of years ago. Todd Odnett said, "Yeah, I don't pull copper." It actually increased the barrel life by leaving the copper in there, from what he was saying. And okay, cool. There's nobody better at long range shooting than Todd Odnett. So if he said it, I'm rolling with it. But yeah, I mean, I can tell you right now, some of the guns that I've gotten back from some of the team shooters, it would make some of the competitive shooting teams or the competitive shooters in the world cringe. How much? I mean, caked on carbon. I mean, if the bolt's moving and it's shooting, they're running it.
Yeah.
And he knows who he is. But at the end of the day, right, I can't really argue with somebody who's winning.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So, I mean, obviously they got it figured out. But, yeah, I mean, it's kind of the way I look at it. I think that's the overlooked piece of the world in the competitive shooting world is what are you doing to keep your gear running and how do you know when it's going to shut down? And I can tell you for me, right, I've had 3 proof barrels, all the same gun, or all the same concept, and they've all shot out within about 100 rounds of each other on all 3.
Huh.
So I can tell you right now, if you go into my 3-gun bag and you pull out my rifle, in that compartment is a little data book, and it'll say date, round count.
Right.
And I look at it, and when it gets and a couple page at the very first page, it's got pull barrel with a date with a round count. And when I hit that round count, which is about 500 before everything else is ever shot out, that barrel will get pulled.
Huh. Okay.
That's just
and this matches a lot of what I've been hearing lately from top shooters. Of, typically you'll see something like, I'm building my 2018 rifle or my 2017 rifle or whatever it is, but it's minimum replacing wearable parts, and wearable part is a barrel.
I mean, dude, like when I sold rifles internationally and I still sell them internationally, there's a reason why I give that country a maintenance log chart. I tell you when you should start replacing stuff because it's what we've seen in our rifles break, or pistols for that matter. The last thing I need you as a guy that's putting foot to rear end for your country is to have it to overlook that. So when we send rifles out to other countries, we send spare parts and pieces, and we tell them at, $5,000, $10,000, here's what you need to start replacing. And, some people, $5,000 to $10,000 is a whole year. Other people, that's a couple months.
Some people, that's a lifetime.
Yeah. And what's in it, right? I just recently found this out, but all IWI's barrels are it's machine gun rated steel. We rate our rifle barrels to 20,000 rounds. And I'm like, wow,
that's a lot.
That's a lot of bullets fired down range. And the reason why they do that is because it's one steel, right? They can build their machine gun steel barrels. They can build their Galil barrels. They can build it's all the same steel. They don't have to buy anything else.
Makes sense. Economies of scale. You can buy a shitload.
Exactly. So, but 20,000 rounds, right? I'd hate to be the bastard who's got fired 20,000 rounds to it. Damn, 7.62 by 39. But in the same token, though, I will say this. So 20,000 rounds, right? IWI, we're late to the table on the Tavor 7. It was supposed to be out in January. Then it got pushed to April. Then it got pushed to July, and probably going to be pushed to August. And the reason why that is we test everything. We do a small production run, and they'll take 5 to 10 rifles out of that production run, and they go in a Connex trailer, and they go shoot 20,000 rounds through everything, right? If it's not wearing the way they like it to, they go back to the drawing board. Piss on the fact that it's not breaking. If it's not wearing the way they want it, go back to the drawing board.
Interesting.
That's interesting, right? 20,000. Imagine being the poor dude that's got to shoot 20,000 rounds of 308 through 5 rifles and it not wear the way.
And a single trigger pull.
Yeah, it ain't no full auto.
Not full. Oh god.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's like the how much ice cream do you want?
Yeah. Exactly.
You have all the ice cream you ever want.
While it's super frustrating for me in sales, I have to respect it too because the last thing I need is my nephew just bought a PlayStation 4 or whatever it is, 5.
17.
Whatever it is. The new PlayStation, right? And I was there when he bought it. And his mom bought it. We plugged it in. And immediately it needed 4 hours worth of updates. Drove me bananas. I was like, you know what? Now I appreciate the guys who do the extra stuff like the engineers in Israel because I'd be upset if you had an update for my rifle and it just came out.
Yeah. And we see that a lot in the firearms industry, right? And especially like in the past. Like I don't think you can get away with it now as much as you used to be able to.
Yeah.
because magazines would never ever say anything bad about a firearm.
No.
And the internet will rip you to shreds. If you've got, what was Striker slide or whatever crap that they're giving the P365 for.
Yeah, it's doing something, but yeah, I mean, the days of taking so long, right? A publication to get out takes so long.
Oh yeah.
It takes me 10 minutes to put a Facebook video up. It's going, and 9 of that is filming it.
Yep.
Because I'm not going to edit it, right? That's really what it's all about, and I think the guys that go above and beyond to make sure there's nothing wrong with their firearms are going to win these battles with other manufacturers, and that 365 is a solid pistol. What I do respect about SIG in that regard is they are making it right.
Absolutely.
There are companies out there
and
that
they're publicly making it right.
Oh, yeah.
It's not like they're just kind of trying to sweep it under the rug.
There are companies that make inline changes and don't tell anybody about it, right?
Right.
Oh yeah, we know that's a problem. We just fix it, and then if you call them, then they fix it. But SIG's been very open and adamant about, hey,
Yep.
I've said it before and I'll say it again. Mercedes-Benz doesn't sell cars sitting on the side of the road,
Right.
right? A friend of
Bad
mine.
example.
Huh?
You need a better example.
Why? Because at the end of the day, right?
Mercedes-Benz?
Well, here's the deal, right?
It's grandma's car.
Yeah, until you drive a G-Wagon AMG, then you're like, think
oh,
bad.
okay. There you go.
But I had a friend of mine use this example, and I guess his wife's car broke down, and not only did Mercedes send a car for her to drive to work in, but then they also sent the tow truck to pull it off the side of the road.
Right.
There's a reason why I'm in all these matches. If my rifle goes down, if my product goes down, 1, I'm there to try to fix it. 2, if I am there to try to fix it and I can't, typically I can have a UPS label and I'm shipping it that day back to the factory because I need to get it fixed and back to the customer's hands as soon as possible. I tell my team almost weekly, there's 2 types of people or companies in this industry, or any industry for that matter, but you're judged on some key components. You can have the best product, but the shittiest customer service, and 9 times out of 10, you're not going to be successful. You can also have the best customer service and the shittiest product, and you'd be all right because people are like, oh, well, hey, what do you expect? It's going to break, but they'll fix it.
They're a good person.
Yeah. So if you can have a great blend of both,
Right.
Nobody calls customer service to be happy. That's just the facts. Nobody calls to hey, how's your day, Dave? I'd like to tell you how good your show is. They call because they're pissed, and customer service agents are saints. But
for sure,
we
they deal with a lot of misplaced anger.
Well, we at IWI make it a policy that you will talk to a human. We don't have a recording when you call. Press 1 for this. You get a human being. You get 1 or 2 people. Either my security guard, Josh, or our receptionist / order enter, Karen. One of the 2 is going to answer the phone, and they're going to transfer it around our company. But you're going to get one of them. And a lot of people respect that.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with Vortex.
And that's a unique thing that you don't get everywhere. So going that little bit of above and beyond really helps. All right, well, Jeremy, excuse me, we've covered a lot here.
Yeah,
We need to be getting to where we're going.
Yeah, I'm getting hungry.
Yeah. So a couple final questions before we before we end here.
Is this like the last bit of questions, like the 21 questions you can't study for?
Pretty much.
Oh, cool.
These are the ones I told you I wouldn't ask you.
Fair enough.
Where do you see the sport of 3-gun headed?
I think the sport of 3-guns at a pivotal road. It's going to go 1 or 2 directions. One, it's going to continue to get larger. But I think the sponsors are going to continue to pull back because there's just only so much dollars. When it was 2000 and there was 11 major matches and there was $10 million that could be donated to these matches, everything was hunky-dory. Well, now there's 100 major matches and there's still only $10 million. So that, or you'll see if you look at USPSA and IDPA, they've gone through peaks and valleys. I think 3-Gun Nation brought it to a high peak, and I think it's going through a valley. There's still a lot of people coming in, but there's the unfortunate piece, right, is there's a lot of people leaving. And if you look at the next generation of shooter, the age bracket is massive from your 21, 25 old shooters, and then there's not any, there's 30, 28, 27. From like 21 to like 15, there ain't a whole lot. And then when you hit 15, it's even drastically deeper. There's just not a whole lot of people. And I don't really know how we can get that moving more. I think what Becky and Travis and them are doing with their junior camps is, one, great, but two, it's virtually impossible for them to get good help. I get it. It takes time out of people's days to. So we sponsor that. I sponsor that. I sent a rifle for 2A Heritage, but what people don't realize, right, and it's not a plug to me, is that I couldn't get it moving fast enough with IWI, so I just went and swiped the credit card and handed it over, because that's the next generation that's going to help promote what we are all enjoying now, and so that's where I think it's going. One or two directions. It's. I hope it's going to continue to grow. I hope that we can do a check and balance and a reset of the playing cards, shuffle them up a little bit, and bring back some of the original matches too that left. I'd love to see Travis Gibson bring back Iron Man, the little the rappel tower zip line thing, right? That thing is awesome. But we don't see that anymore, right? Right now we see a bunch of bays and the old outlaw stuff.
Gotta go to Texas, man.
Texas has got it, right? And put some distance back into play. Distance will separate some people real quick. But also, I really would like to see I'd like to see the industry come together and create a standard rule set. I can tell you from people I've talked to, it's intimidating to have to study the rule set for every match you go to.
Well, and as you said in your USPSA talk, you didn't even look at the rule set.
No, because I looked at it. I mean, at the end of the day, it's straightforward.
Well, and Lan Wynn,
we
were just talking about, he recently got bumped to Open at the Colorado 3-Gun Championship because D60s are for Open only. They're not for TAC.
Yeah, it's interesting, right, is my buddy, we together shot a USPSA match. It was his first match he ever shot. He's an LE officer, used his LE duty gun. He's got an XL X300 Surefire.
Okay.
So he signed up as production because that's what he thought he needed to be in, but he's using his police gear, right? First stage, blah, 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 does okay, right? Somebody doesn't like him because of what he's doing. He's a threat now to their win. It's a club match. Piss off. Bumped him to Open. He's like, what are you talking about? Oh, you have a flashlight. He's like, okay, well, that's going to add weight to the front of the pistol. Get the fuck out of here. Come on. But yeah, I wish we could have a standard set of rules that everybody can know. Divisions. There's been a lot of talk. What about divisions in general? Bring what you got. Shot what you bring. Whatever. So yeah, we'll see where it goes. I'm excited to see the next evolution of competitive shooting sports. There's a lot of matches out there. Doesn't mean that there's a lot of good matches. There's just a lot of matches. I think that you're going to see the top level shooters start picking and choosing, which they're already doing. What they want to do. I'd love to see a match director summit at like SHOT Show and work together. Like I told you before, some of the PRS matches I've been to, I've saw on the prize table are plane tickets and entry fee to other PRS matches.
We just did that recently. We didn't do the plane ticket, but we put that Big Ben running gun that I'm doing, Big Ben Blast and Dash. We put entry certificates on the Colorado 3-Gun Championship table.
Yeah, so
totally ripped off your idea.
That's fine, man. I think it's cool, and I think we can get that up and running and get an industry a match director summit. But also, I think it'd be cool to get a true series going, right? Not this. You have to be good at one day out of the year, and then you go shoot a championship. I think you take a couple major matches,
season points match kind of thing.
You take 10 matches across the country. Series. You take a couple matches across the country, right? You make some on the west, some on the east, some in the south, whatever, and you make these people shoot it. But you put instead of the match fee being $150, it's $200, and that fee, that extra $50 goes to the end of the year total payoff. So the industry is supporting itself. It's self-sustaining, and then anything it gets on the outside is gravy, but it's self-sustaining. But the way I see it, right, is if 3-Gun in the sport did it right, and built a connection with the shooter. And you started following, Daniel Horner or Greg or Keith or Dylan or any of them or Josh. What's Josh's name? He always stirs up shit on Facebook. What is
Freilich.
that? No.
I'm just kidding. It's Tarrant.
Yeah, that guy. Vortex shooter. He's always stirring up some shit. That's why I like him.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because he pretends like he's not trying to. And
he's definitely trying.
And I can't tell if he is or not.
Well, at the end of the day, I thoroughly enjoy it. But
Love you, Josh.
If but say I was following him and he lives on the east somewhere, right?
Ohio.
Yeah. So if I lived out here on the west, and I liked him as a person, as a shooter, blah blah blah, and this series came to Washington or Denver, and he wasn't there, but I paid to go potentially watch him shoot, I'd be upset. If you go to Daytona 500 and Jeff Gordon or whoever your favorite driver isn't racing because he didn't have to,
right?
What the hell? So I think if you did something like that, it'd be kind of cool. I've had hours of conversation with Mark Roth and you and Travis and Aaron Hayes and Kurt Gruber and a couple other guys, trying to figure out where can we take this to the next level. And I'm looking at it again from a growth of the 2A community. I could care less about whose pockets are getting padded or things of that nature. I do this on my free time I just generally believe that people should come out and shoot, man.
Yeah.
Have a good time. I mean, I'm the type of person that's hey, I got no problem letting use my gear. Have at it, man. I'm gonna be the most transparent person out there. Right? I run some of the best gear you could get, but you know what? I do that not because I have to. It's because I want to. I believe in what I'm using,
right.
And I pay for it, so it doesn't matter.
All right, Jeremy.
Next question.
One final thought or one piece of advice for the audience. Something
Okay.
that they can take away from our talk tonight.
Final thought. Slow it down. Listen to it. When it comes down to it, guys. Final thought and advice: shoot your game. Shoot your match. Shoot what you're comfortable at. Practice on the range at your own time and push your bar of excellence there. Invite people to the range. Get them out to shoot. If they're a two-gunner or a tactical guy, hey, they can use their gear just as well. Being competitive is in the mind of the own shooter, right? If your intent is to go out and shoot a Glock 19 and a Pump 870 and a 16-inch with a aim point, and your intent is to win TAC Ops, you're setting yourself up for failure.
Right.
But come out and have a good time.
Be realistic.
Be realistic in your goals and ask to borrow some gear. I mean, trust me, the people will. There's more than
falling all over themselves.
They
to give you gear.
It's people are super nice, almost sickening nice in this game because they will gladly help you out. And I guess my last piece of advice is, before you ask a question on the forums, maybe word the question not necessarily, hey, what's the best optic for this? Why not, hey, I run this. Can I be competitive at this? Mm-hmm. I love Pat Kelly, man. He comes out of nowhere freaking hammer and fist, buddy. You're good to go. Come out and have a good time. I appreciate that, dude.
Yep.
I don't need you telling me, I'm going to get on there and I'm going to confuse you anyways, because I'm going to be like, well, you can go 1-8 first focal plane with this H27D reticle with Horace and Leopold, or you can go this 1-6 over here. And I'm going to confuse the crap out of you just so you'll go shoot what you get, because you get annoyed with me. But I get it, right? People come out of the woodwork because they're overly excited about the gear in which they run.
Yeah.
And that's cool, right? I appreciate that. You want to see it even more, get on some of these groups I'm on now with these bullpup guys. Bullpup guys will fight you to tell you how better their rifle is compared to an AR-15. And I understand their concepts, but, that's – hey, when you look at what it was designed to do, it's hard to argue their point sometimes. And I've got a lot of time behind a gas gun. But what it was built for isn't 3-gun.
Right.
It was built to go shoot other people. So was the AR-15. But at the end of the day, this rifle still, just like ours, there's 60 countries using a bullpup around the world. So there's probably 200 using the AR-15, but you can't disregard.
That's just because we give them away.
Hey, but yeah, that'd be my advice, man. It's just get out and have a good time, ask questions. The guy wearing a billboard on his jersey, or walking around like he's going onto a fishing competition.
Yep.
Right. Ask that dude questions. He wants to give you. He's begging you to ask him questions. Ask him. I promise you'll be more confused than you care to understand. But you come out of it with some good gear. And at the end of the day, right, I remember my first 3-gun match I shot. I got good gear, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, if you see me on a match, I got good gear. But I remember the first time I ever saw a Dissident shotgun. I wasn't there to win my stupid match. I was there to have a good time.
Right.
So I literally walked over to the guy. I'm like, do you mind if I run this shotgun in this stage? He's like, I'm like, I don't care. I just wanted to run it.
Yeah.
And then I ordered one. So it's like, I'm there, if you see something you like, right, ask somebody, right? Everybody's rifle for the most part. It feels the same, looks the same, smells the same. It's going to do the same concept.
Mine smells better.
Yeah, well, but if you want to try somebody's optic, right, try it.
Oh,
Ask
yeah.
them. If you want to try somebody's rifle, trigger, bolt carrier group, anything you want, there's a widget for it.
Oh, yeah. I've got 2 optics loaned out right now just because people want to try them. I don't even remember who I gave the other one to.
I'm a high-end glass snob.
Yeah.
Ruben, where's my glass? He's here. I'm gonna ask him.
Dude, if we end this, we could go ask him at dinner.
I've been waiting I've been waiting on that 4.5 to 14. They won't make me a Horus reticle, but that's okay. They got their own little deal. But yeah, I mean,
it's because Horus is. Oh, well, we don't need to get into that. All right.
But yeah,
Jeremy.
That was a good time. Any questions or comments, hit me up on Facebook. I'm sure I'm going to upset some people, but that's okay. Ask me how much I care is the better part.
Awesome. Jeremy.
Sir.
I don't think you were nearly as controversial as you think you were, but this was an amazing time. So
I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for being a part of the 3-Gun Show, man. Thank you for all the support that you've given the 3-Gun Show in the past in every which way, whether it's advice or, doing cool projects like the Red October thing. It's much appreciated.
Yeah. To everybody listening, hey, we're glad to support. I'm glad to support the 3-Gun Show, and what you do for the industry. And anybody who's watching and listening, however that plays out. I say watching because I put your podcast on my TV while I cook dinner sometimes.
You're not gonna like this one because there's no video.
That's
we didn't
okay.
do video.
I guess the Cheeto thing wouldn't work then. So find High WI on Instagram and Facebook. Give us a like and follow. We much appreciate it. And same with they're already liking and following you, so it don't matter.
Heck yeah. And we'll see you at Red October. It's going to be a good time.
Yeah, that's going to be – I can guarantee one thing.
We're going to have some fun.
Well, then 2 things. We're going to have fun, and the amount of trash talk that I will be giving out
Oh, nice.
is always great because I'm going to get under Becky's skin.
Oh, really?
Oh, it's going to happen. She knows it, which is why it's even. I'm like, you want to squad me? You know this is going to happen.
It's already started via text, too.
Oh, yeah.
We've got a good group text going on this one.
100%.
Yep. All right. So, Jeremy, again, thanks, man. Appreciate
Anytime,
you doing the show here. I think, you do a lot for the industry behind the scenes, so it's kind of fun to share the personalities in the industry, and appreciate you sharing your show, your story on the 3-Gun Show.
Hey, anytime. I'll have to come back when it's more people.
Hey, before you take off, make sure to head over to 3gunshow.com/episode 209 to links to things that we discussed in the podcast, including the Vortex Nation podcast and the Made Us podcast that I was on recently. Those were a lot of fun. I would definitely do both of them again. So let me know what you think if you listen to those 2 podcasts and you get to hear some cool behind-the-scenes stuff of how I got to where I'm at, what my plans are for the future, and all that good stuff in between. This podcast is brought to you by Armalite. The original Armalite rifles put the AR in AR-15. The rifles themselves come with 1 8 twist barrels, match barrels, 18-inch or 13.5-inch with a 15-inch or 12.5-inch handguard, Timney trigger, Luth AR stock, adjustable gas system, tunable comp, a patented tunable comp. This thing's ready to go right out of the box for a 3-gun with no additional modifications other than putting on a nice optic. I myself use a Vortex Viper PST 1-6 when I'm shooting TAC Ops or their Spitfire when I'm shooting limited. Check them out at armalite.com.
Quick reminder that if you enjoyed this episode of the podcast, subscribe in iTunes, Google Play, Podcast Addict, or wherever you get your podcast content, so you will always get the very latest. Thank you so much for downloading, listening, and subscribing to the show. I'm Dave Hartman, and I'll see you on the range.
If you are finished, unload, show clear.